You should lead in with that, to be honest. Right, here we go. We should be live. I hope. Let's check. No, that's worrying. It's not actually come up tonight with we are live. Why is that?
We are live. We are live.
We
are live.
Can you see us? Why is it not notified me then?
We are live.
Ah, there you go, baby.
Exactly.
There you go, baby.
Yeah. He'll get hit in the head with the golf ball.
There, the adverts are on the whole deal.
Yeah, he slurps some words that's normal. It's like battling 3 concussions at the same time.
Hey, Ravis, don't joke, son, because I'll tell you what, it's bad. I'm going to have to tell everybody in a minute now what happened. It's been a terrible day. Terrible day, ladies and gentlemen. If you are just joining us, welcome to The Fix. The night has changed. It's number 118, ladies and gents, 118 Fix episodes. And I'm here with the winner, the man who effed Bowen. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It's Rolling Motherfucking Ray in the house.
I did some tests and I'm STD clean, so nice. I can battle who I want.
Well, it's always a good thing, mate. It's always a good thing. And the only thing
I can go. Me and Tom Holland, we gotta be deep inside.
That's all I needed to know. As far as I'm concerned, mate, it's all about one thing. Did you come through that injury-free?
Oh, yeah.
And from what I saw, absolutely you did. I was genuinely concerned. My only concern was, because I figured it could be a screamer, I didn't expect you'd win that easily, actually. So I thought it could be an absolute barnstormer, and that you might come a bit tweaked up, busted up for arm wars, which is not great when you're pulling.
I have nationals this week.
Oh, you're a penis. I mean, who's in your class?
Some Latvian killers, so should be fun.
Who's the hardest match, do you reckon, for you?
I don't know. Like some guys might move up and down. I really don't know. I really don't know. There are some really good guys that have, given me beating, but I have good chances of winning. So,
well, I'm going to just do a little, live request to all of our Latvian viewers out there, all 3 of you, of which
just lay down, yeah. Just lay down.
Be gentle with Ray. Please be gentle with Ray this week, guys, because
no, don't worry about the class. The thing that's interesting for me is the overall. That's the thing.
Don't be going in there with the chef. Leave the chef.
I'm going there with the chef. I know my lanes.
Don't play with the chef. Don't play with the chef. I saw the chef was also pulling on the practice table with the mighty Jerry Carteret. Obviously, Jerry, pretty busted up, far less so than the chef.
Yeah.
But that's another match. It's quite interesting, to be perfectly honest. What's Sanders' aspirations now? Where's he sort of targeting his side? I know he's got WAF coming up. Oh,
so
cool.
I think Sanders is we're not. I don't think you have to aim like straight to the top. I don't think that's going to make you better. I think you should learn lessons while you're on your way to the top. So Sanders will try to win WAF Worlds. That is the plan. He's a little chubby. He's like, hey, how's that carnivore diet work? So I was like, I gave him some tips. And
what is his weight?
He said like 190. I'm like, don't lie. I'm like, you're not that big. He got back in the gym on Monday. He was 116 in the evening. Okay. So I would say like maybe he would have to lose like 3-4 kilos, and
how old is he now?
27.
Yeah, so ultimately he's gonna get bigger and heavier anyway.
The plan right now is like he will get opportunities because I think Sanders is super talented, super hardworking, and really he's a great arm wrestler. If you know the full package, how good he is, we will only know in time. But his aspirations right now is to win WAF 110 few times. And then eventually he'll move up because he's a big guy, he's like, and he's training hard, he's eating a lot, and he's just slowly getting bigger. And it's pretty much inevitable, but you need to be top rank guy there and then move to those, so you can fight with them. You cannot be number 17 guy and then move to 100, 20 plus.
And obviously he's got high aspirations. I mean, he's spoken to us about that. Is the first rung of that ladder.
Yeah, I think he will very soon be in conversations about top 5 in 110 kilo, in the world.
Well, I was just going to say, there's a lot of, I was literally just preempted what I was going to say there, mate. Obviously, with a lot of conversations about the top 110 guy, I'm going to go on record as saying, and this is not in any way sort of, oh, wait a minute, let's just let this young man in. The third member of the crew tonight. Yeah, this is not in any way targeted at ARMWRESTLING because Kirigali did great. But I do believe, evening, Rob, you're on this side, mate. Can you just put your... Oh, why the fuck? Your phone must not be on auto rotate, Rob, because it's stayed in.
Rob's like, I come on a podcast and all these stupid rules.
There you
go. Jesus Christ. Is that good?
Yeah, it's amazing, mate. We've got you in glorious Technicolor. Better than me, actually.
Hey, Rob.
Yeah.
What's up, buddy? Congratulations. Little late, but haven't talked to anybody, so you look good.
Not a problem, dude. You're allowed to come fashionably late. I just broke Ray off for some measuring that he was doing internally. Oh, it's still set at the distance. Still
yeah,
set.
I was measuring my penis earlier because Neil needed to know, so I just left.
Yeah, what did we come up with? Are we over average or are we just lying to ourselves?
Just 3 inches shorter than me. But at the end of the day, Rob, it's not important right now.
No.
What is important is the topic of tonight. Before we get on to the topic of tonight, I will finish what I was saying about the chef. We're talking about Sandris JADE and the whole conversation around the best 110 guys in the world. And I was going to say, I would really like to see the ARMWRESTLING match again, just because of the fact that I've heard from a number of people that John was really, really rough. Well, if that was the case, I'd like to see that match again because I love that match anyway. And to be fair, the first round, John looked pretty solid. Obviously, he got hung up after that, but I'd just like to see that match again. I really would.
That's a 110 match, right?
Well, those guys would be both going for that in terms
because, of. I mean, they're ranked right now. Aiken had him at 100, and I thought they were both heavier than that by a bit.
You know what? I don't think Kirigali is.
No, I think Kirigali is.
In the top eight, he was over 230.
Was he really? I didn't think he was that big. I thought
he was 105, or like he was the smallest guy there.
That's where I had him, about 105 kilos. Yeah, but I don't know.
Still over 230.
That's true. Yeah.
But he's for me, I don't want to taint the win because the guy won. End of. You go to the table and that's that. But I just feel like that would have been one of those matches that really is in the upper echelon. So you want to see both guys bang on form. You know, you want to see them both arm wrestle when they're red hot, and particularly John at the moment because he has been on a tear. So I'd like to see it run again. Whether that happens or not, we'll have to see. But it'd be great if it did. And the other guy that we were just talking about there, Sandris, I think around that weight class, he definitely is in the conversation for one of the top guys. You know, he's right up there. Maybe not the very best, you know, but I understand going forward.
Like I said, he's on his way. He's like every time he impresses us. So that's like it's. I think if you know arm wrestlers, it's very hard to impress your own guys. But he's like every time impresses us. I remember me and Giannis watching Zloty when he won. And we're like, what the hell is going on? We're like, hell is going on? He hits all those goals so perfectly, just letters everyone. And we were giving so much hope for the left arm, which he bunked, and I don't remember which he got, but he did terribly. We're like, oh my god! And then he just perfectly hits it, and just continuously getting better. So
yeah, he's, to be fair, the lad is brave and he's complete. You know, we've seen him hit. I mean, even the match the other day with Lachlan, that was brave at that point, because if you gas yourself to the point where you're not effective with your top roll, which, let's be honest, he'd clearly identified he had the lane in the top roll all day. But I don't know how much miles he put on Lachlan's clock, or whether he felt like Lachlan was already burned up. I don't know what you think, Rob. But it was probably brave, in my opinion, to go in at that point of the match. We didn't need to. He could have hung him out there and put a lot more miles in him, and then in the last round, when he's burned to shit, come in and sit in the hook. But he didn't. He took it on earlier, and I do respect that. I like that about Sandris. He's got a little bit of the Brzezinski in him there. He likes to take the match to people, you know.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a little bit of a play sometimes. I mean, I don't know that it happened in that match. I suspect it might have happened in that match because Lachlan doesn't really have anyone on his level in Australia. And I imagine his bicep getting that negative stretch is something that doesn't get much. So it doesn't take much to make him, once he starts bouncing and doing that negative separation, he knew his goose was cooked. Now, like I said, when that happened that match, I think it's a common thing we see in matches that guys will act like they really nut up after they have a guy totally blown. I mean, Michael Todd, I think I used to call when he was going to shoulder roll people because he'd get the guy totally annihilated on the King's move. And then like round 3, 4, 5, he'd come up and shoulder roll so he could have the argument that he didn't only King's move. He would shoulder roll him or throw him in a hook, but he would do that after the guy was down to about 50%. It's a little sneaky.
Yeah, I get what you mean. I mean, I know that Jerry used to always have a lot of aggravation with that, where he'd say to people, yeah, I'm not trying to drop my wrist. It's just that people won't come into the hook with me. And even after the match the other day, when he was pulling Gennady, he said, what happened when he went inside with me? You know, he's really keen to make that point. So Cobra Rhodes in the chat, Rhodes, evening, mate. But yeah, that was very interesting that he made that point. He's still obviously feeling it there. Now, I want to set up for you guys, in case you haven't actually seen the thumbnail, guys, what was the main point of discussion and why it's been the main point of discussion. It's because I actually only watched the video this morning, early this morning. I believe that Ryan had put out a video where he explains his experience with P.E.D.s. Well, let's just say that must have resonated with a lot of viewers of the show, or a lot of people, because I have had a ton of messages saying, can you please discuss? Now, I had to do the same when Ryan's on the show. Can you discuss this? So we can revisit it a little bit. Unfortunately, Ryan's traveling right now. I feel his pain because I've done the same myself this week. And when your internet's just not there, it's not there. I spoke to Ryan just before we came on air, and he just hasn't got the internet to sustain the call. But he went on, he talked a great deal about what exactly he has taken over what time frame. And I've spoken to a number of people throughout today while I was driving north, arm wrestlers this is, and various people have various opinions of this. Obviously, I've gone on record stating where I stand on it, really. I know that, Rob, you have as well. You talk about this probably as much or more than anybody else, to be perfectly honest. Ray, similarly. But more importantly than that, in some respects, I wanted to try and get a feel from the chat as well, where people's mindset was on this a little bit, you know, and what people felt about the use of P.E.D.s in arm wrestling, and the fact that, and most of the questions we got today have been along the lines of, are we concerned by the fact that there seems to be more of an openness around P.E.D.s and almost a wave of discussion and, for want of a better word, almost promotion of the fact that the top guys in the sport are utilizing P.E.D.s to increase their level, and that it's being focused on as commitment, as a measure of their commitment in the sport, which obviously, you know, opinions vary. Let's just say that. But a lot of messages on that today. Quite surprising, because you also see that some people aren't too bothered by it. And I was very, very keen to sort of just throw some points out there, counterpoints out there, and see what people's feelings were around it. I mean, Ray, you're from a country that tests very regularly. I mean, the sport is recognized in Latvia by your official sporting body. Not the case with all countries around the world, but it is in Latvia.
Yep.
And you guys are pretty rigorously tested, aren't you?
Yeah, most likely we will have 4 or 5 doping tests in the nationals this Saturday. So Sandris and Kristaps is on Adam's list. So as much as I know, Kristaps had like a doping test like 4 or 5 weeks ago, 6 a.m. They showed up at his door, and he had to, you know, do a piss and blood test. And Sandris, I don't know when Sandris was last time he was tested, but maybe like 2 weeks before that or something like that. Like, I think he's been tested out of competition 2 or 3 times this year already. So it's just government rules. If you want to be part of recognized sport, you will have the perks of being recognized, but you have to deal with this. And for us, it's different things. So, this whole conversation, like for me, it's very alarming. Like it's always been here. It's always going to happen. How do we fight it? Because I really don't believe the guys can arm wrestle better on or without. Some guys will just not be that good, and some guys just will be better. But the quality of arm wrestling will not suffer. Like you will not see anything different from arm wrestling perspective. Like this, it's still going to be guys that crush it, guys that can, outline. Like I don't see the argument there. When someone says like, if we talk about like bodybuilding or powerlifting or something, like yes, there's something that's going to suffer because there's something measurable that's going to suffer, like the lifts in powerlifting or the size in bodybuilding. In arm wrestling, still going to be big guys, still going to be muscular guys, still going to be shredded guys, strong guys. Doesn't matter. The problem for me is the kids that come in with this notion that's the only way. And for me, like I was very lucky that I walked into the right gym where no one told me that was the right way, where you should just train and, and then you become smarter and you put in work and, suddenly you can achieve. You cannot achieve everything. There's genetic gifts and some guys going to be better, some guys going to be worse. But I know a lot of guys that will just show up to gym like first time and they'll say to their trainer, so they gave me this list and it's all steroids. Like I need this so I can train. Shut up, it's kind of ridiculous. There are sports like strongman where it's pretty much necessity because that's the show part and the guys get paid a lot of money for it. But for us, I don't see a difference because we can still be, same things on table. You're just going to be maybe weaker, but no one's going to know because everyone is weaker.
The funny thing is, it's difficult though, isn't it? Because a lot of the guys that are watching the sport, let's say we want to take the sport to the masses, which is the ultimate aspiration, is to make this thing a global phenomenon. There's a tipping point, isn't there? Which is a real thing where people would say, okay, well, you need that wow factor, that attraction, that freak factor. And people constantly push that argument forward. But if you were talking about the level of power, it's almost an intangible, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, it's
unmeasurable.
It is completely unmeasurable. And also, I'm not sure that people, I mean, if you're not a competitor, you can't really identify with the level of power anyway.
Exactly.
You really can't.
Yeah.
I mean, it's when we do strongman events and the guys, the people that are involved in the sport and that have actively lifted, and you say, we had an event at weekend, Giants Live Cardiff, and the opening weight in the World Deadlift Championships was 400 kilograms. Now, I am not convinced that a lot of people who are watching that event would really appreciate just how heavy that is. If it was 300 kilos, would they be equally entertained and equally as impressed with the lift? If the level of the competition was reduced in the same level, do people really lose anything by that? Yes. I don't know. And what I'm talking about here is if you've got a situation with arm wrestling where the whole field of arm wrestlers drops in terms of just power, but as you say, Ray, their level of
see it exactly, you would not see it. It would be
you would see the ranking shift.
Yeah, but you wouldn't see it
at different levels.
Yeah.
Well,
so you would
there is
see
an argument.
Guys that were really good be kind of okay.
Yeah, depending on what their level of arm wrestling ability
dependency, depending on how dependent they are.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. But it's very interesting to me what people feel in that respect. So the viewers of the sport.
Well, I think something too. I think that when you talk about viewability, when we go to other sports, guys that are considered huge, you think of a guy like Mike Tyson was what, 220? He was like somewhere around 220, but his build was put together in something an athletic way. People thought he was a monster, even though he was like 5'10". Guys like Rob Gronkowski, they think he's a massive man, even the NFL. He's 265 pounds, athletic. But we got guys in our sport, they're at 400 plus, 350. You wonder why Under Armour's not sponsoring us? Because it's all about top end, get huge, change your skeleton, be a Neanderthal. But really the athletic side of it, that is inevitable if you're natural, because when you're natural, you're going to just kind of try to maximize on that natural. And I'm not saying Gronkowski's natural or anything, but guys that are considered huge in our sport aren't, because it's gone checked. It's gone. We got 400+ pound guys in the sport right now that are all over everywhere on the internet. You think Under Armour looks for potential athletes? They go, next. We don't have 10X. Sorry.
Yeah, and the other downside of it in some respects is that you do see that some of the athletes who are the most talented arm wrestlers do get overlooked, and some of the best matches happen in those classes. I was a little bit sick that David Samusha and
Bojidar.
Yeah, you know exactly where I'm going. And Bojidar was overlooked a little bit because, in my opinion, Bojidar is as good as it gets at his weight class, and he was giving weight.
And you look at him, you're like, looks like a little athletic dude. When he's training hard, like now he's not that, he looks athletic, strong, but he doesn't look wow. You don't imagine the power that's behind that arm,
And you look at the manner in which he arm wrestled, the little nuance in there, the things that he does within the match, which people don't see. They don't see the ability that the guy has got in all positions. I mean, people can say, oh, well, if you look at how he arm wrestles, which is predominantly the hook, he predominantly is an inside puller. Very, very rarely will you see Boji go for the top roll, if at all. But he is so complete in that position, from right in the center of the table to the total arc of the defensive position, to the degree of commitment and positioning, pronation, supination, timing, you name it, he has got it dialed in. He's absolutely mastered that, There are others similar. Daniel Kopchuk's another one, to be perfectly honest, but they don't get that same, they get overlooked a little bit, I think. And sometimes some of the finer points of the sport that I do think you could, over time, really sell in and see some really entertaining matches and build more stars, and we're not able to, because it is all about what does this guy weigh?
Heavyweight, like we're bringing baggage of every strength sport that's always looking for that heavyweight class. Like, who's the top dog? When in arm wrestling, it's more about quality. The same thing, it goes like jiu-jitsu, it's quality that you do on mat. It's not it's always more interesting who is the best of the best, but still there's so much quality besides super heavyweights. And when you talk about super heavyweights, you don't say usually quality. There are some quality dudes, but most of the time, like the deeper are the classes 110 low or 90 kilo below. And, it's ridiculous that's going on there. And so many people are getting overlooked. I think the cat is out of the bag at this point. How can we solve the problem for the future? If arm wrestling wants to go somewhere as a sport like UFC or something like that, because that is the route of super matches, we have to figure something out, and we need to be honest. And I'm like, my concern is like, it's like, I think it's the most talked point, but it's the kids. It's everyone who watches, who inspires, and who wants to become. They think like that's the only way, And then like someone says, no, you just, if you're gifted, you have to train. And then someone gifted shows up and no one believes them.
Yeah. I really 100% endorse that. And also, as a dad myself, you're in a situation where if you are sort of trying to get to a scenario where your kids can go into a sport where that doesn't have to be an option for them to be competitive, that's ultimately what it comes down to, and there has to be a governance there. And if people want to attract major sponsors into the sport, in most instances, you do need to have that recognition. You do need to have testing. And
it's got to be the right testing, though. It's got to be different than what we've had, because WAF is a joke. I mean, they're doing it, but how many guys would show up to WAF that were running hot all year long? So it's got to be a little more, you got to finagle it. You got to play it a little bit.
As much as I know, RVJ, like, I think they have Adam's system as well. So they incorporated some out of competition, but it's very limited. It's like we have 1.5 thousand competitors in world championship, and maybe 80 will be, or 20 will be on those lists. So I like, the solution has always been more tests. Even if it doesn't fix the problem, it will turn it down. It will change it, because you're risking, like you're risking 4 years, or you're risking lifetime disqualification.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. I think first or second in almost every open class should always get tested. Just for shits, because nobody really wants to lay down and take third. They might slide in for a second. I don't know. People like to win. There's the people that you can hear about. Even now with what you can see people are doing online, you can kind of get a read on what people are up to, because a lot of times when people run to doing things like steroids and beyond, they get very narcissistic because they're super proud of their immediate gains. They're always in there taking their selfies. They're showing you their weight gain. They're showing you their max lifts that they break every week. You can almost dial in on those guys and say, fuck it, let's test him when he shows up, or test him beforehand. If they're part of if you're part of, say, like the NFL or a soccer league, you're an athlete that could get tested anytime if that was the ideal. If somebody like Ted Turner owned this, or an Ed McMahon did this, and they had the funds, then the people who are part of the league would get those tests. But until then, guys they'll spend just as much time learning how to beat the test as they will making those gains.
Yeah, I think we can talk as much as we want. The problem, we cannot solve the problem. The problem, it's not even a problem, because it's the environment. Environment allows it. So like there's if the league is untested and they're paying you money to win, and you're willing to do it, just do it. I couldn't care less. But if we're starting to, the sport is getting bigger and we're looking for like real sponsors, they will start look like, what the hell is this shit? Hey.
Well, the real sponsors see the ones that they're winning that you don't care about at this point in time. They've got to see those test models. Sometimes people don't want to invest if they see the test models beforehand turn to shit. So it's almost got to start getting better in the smaller brackets so they can see if they want to put money into it. Right now, it's a menagerie, and it's not just the super heavyweights. Every class, the top guys are littered with it, even in the lightweights.
It'd be very interesting if you could, actually, because you get the same old questions. So it'd be very good if you could actually know how many people who are in the upper echelons of the sport in all weight classes use and how many don't. If you could actually get a genuine read on that, which is you can't do. It's impossible to do. But if you could, it would be interesting to see how many guys who are in that upper echelon don't use. I'm talking at the elite in what weight class.
It's a huge number. It's a huge number. It'd be a disappointing number for a lot of the natural guys, because it's a huge number, because birds of a feather flock together. And some of these guys come from countries that don't look down on it at all. They even have doctors on the payroll that will teach them what to do, how to do, and how to beat a test. Yeah. We've all seen Icarus at this point in time. Yeah. We've seen what countries are willing to do for the price of gold. They don't look at it in ways that other people might. And then this country that's bordering this country knows that they've got to keep pace, and so grows the tree. I mean, I think the number would be jarring. It's not far off of bodybuilding at this point.
The interesting thing is also, if you've got a situation where, as we said earlier on, if kids are coming into the sport and they see that as a necessity, or the parents see that as a necessity, that will be really damning and really damaging and really sad.
Yeah. But I think like arm wrestling is one of those rare sports where you can achieve the highest levels. Maybe like when I say highest levels, I don't mean elite, but you can become world champion.
Yeah, world champion.
Become world champion easily if you are working hard and you have some genetic gifts. When you know how to arm wrestle, you can become all those things. The problem is, the open waters. That is for me very hard thing, to achieve. It's yeah.
Well, a lot of people, some of the messages that came over, people were saying, oh, it's so discouraging for people. That isn't necessarily the case, and bear with me why. I mean, based on my own personal experience, okay, this is just me personally. I actually, whilst you will be there's two sides to this. Number one, yeah, you're disappointed if you think that a guy has cheated, but I also took motivation from it. I genuinely did feel like I was in the minority, going out to beat a number of guys that I knew were using. And in some way, it was kind of cool that I was in my own mind. Whether it was or it wasn't, to me, it was. To me, it was like I was, hunting monsters. You get that at all? It just motivated me. I don't know why, but I know that it did. I know that I would go over there thinking, well, if I can beat these guys and I'm completely natural and I can outbox them when they're trying to take my head off with top end power, that's quite good. That's rewarding. And many times you get the shit smacked out of you and it didn't work, and there's always a level of power that you can't surpass.
I had the same feeling when I was bench pressing, same feeling, because I was going, and I usually could beat the guys that started, remember, by 2.5 kilos, and they juiced out of their gills, and I was like,
yeah. But to be the devil's advocate on that, it's like there is a something gratifying about doing that, but you're both going to hit a physiological cap, while the guy who might be less than you, his physiological cap doesn't exist, depending on his willingness. And then what gets written in time. Now, if you want to feel good about yourself at night and tell your family that you could have been a contender, that's great. But in the hands of time, all those guys that blew past you because they were juicing, the guy that could never bench as much as Ray gets juiced up and now benches 100 pounds more than him. Guess what goes down in the hands of time of the best benchers to come out of Latvia? His name's ahead of Ray's. And everyone will talk about that guy before they talk about Ray. Everyone will talk about the guy who smashed you in the finals that was juiced out of his face, because people live on results. And they're getting these results because of one reason. So when I'll take pride in it too, being that natural guy. Where would I fall if the world was natural? But guess what? At the end of the day, there's guys walking around that I don't think are as good as me naturally. I'd wager my house on it. But they aren't. And at the end of the day, people only want to see result. They don't give a fuck about you crying because they're not the dude in the trenches. And when they come down to handing out awards, money, sponsorships, and all that shit, everyone goes for the winner.
Yeah.
I hate you so much, RVJ. You made so much sense. I hate you so much. I hate you.
Well, the other thing,
believe me, it hurts like a motherfucker, dude.
Yeah.
Believe me.
The other point
I that was wrong.
Just to build on that point, right? If money was ever in the sport, then it is more serious. You could say, oh well, what does it matter? But if you're the guy that's trying to feed your family through it, that's trying to earn money through it, that it becomes a career for or aspiration, then it's a great deal more important. A great deal more important.
Well, when you got guys like, you look at it, like when you talk about the ARMWRESTLING match, I didn't see it. I'm not on Facebook. But Heather showed me a video when they got off the plane. They had the whole town and like people dressed up to welcome the
They gave him an apartment.
They gave him an apartment. They gave him an apartment. How are you as a regular guy? Even John Brzezinski, the GOAT, we'll give him that. He's good. He's on a good run, but he's going to work at Delta. You know what I mean? He's arm wrestling. He's going to work at Delta doing his thing. I don't know if he still works there, but last I heard, ARMWRESTLING just got an apartment, and he's a goddamn celebrity who's like our version of Tom Brady in that country right now. He's like Pele over there. Like, how do you want to talk about putting it all on the line? I mean, that's different strokes for different folks in different countries. And like I said, when you're dealing with that, I made the example a few weeks back in a YouTube video. I said, it's like Cool Runnings. Yep. You might have the talent, but you're out-resourced.
One of the other points that's really pertinent there is looked into testing a number of times, and I think you hit the nail on the head earlier on. You find you're sort of really fighting an uphill battle, because in order to do the tests accurately, for people that are dedicated to doing that, it's very hard to catch them. And if you speak to a lot of people that are very deep into that field, they'll say, well, yeah, I'm not too worried about the test. I feel like I'll get around it. And I'm sure a lot of people could, at the level that it's financially viable to test. And I think there's a lot of people, that's a very viable point. You've got to be appreciative that most arm wrestling promotions would go under trying to spend an enormous amount of money on testing smaller events. It's a horses for courses thing. And once you get to a certain scale, a certain magnitude, a certain size, I think that it would then need to become absolutely critical.
I think there is a loophole where, just like any big leagues, of course, you could make it where there was a membership fee, and your membership fee is you're responsible for like 3 or 4 absolutely random tests out of the year. You go to a clinic, just like they test you for when you got to get a job at the government or something, and they call you up and say, guess what? You got 24 hours to be at the clinic, take a test. You could find one within and out. This is your responsibility. You're part of this. If they say we're going to take the top 10 guys in the whole world in every weight class, and we're going to have a league, and we're going to give out $500,000 prize or something, they do the prize money. But they say you want to be part of this league. You're one of the 10. We'll give you clothes. We'll give you jackets. We'll give you airtime, all that shit. But you're responsible for your own tests. That's your admission fee to this league, and you're going to get 4, 5, 6 a year, whatever. It's on you. We'll work with the people, give a group discount for one of these national pharmaceutical chains or something. And then you go there, they give you 24 hours, you got to go. If you don't go, it's a failed test. Gone. If you were in traffic, unless you can prove to me you were in a car wreck or something, lights.
Yeah, which is fair enough. Let's knock over some of these super chats. We've had a few come in there and I haven't sort of managed to check them out. So let's go back and have a quick look. So, V-Pose, thank you for your super chat, brother. Really appreciate it. He's put, good job, Ray. Or for me, the performance of the night was Chance Shaw, who destroyed his opponent. Yeah, Chance was great. And I think in most people's minds, Chance was an underdog. So it was nice for him to get a result there.
I had him picked to win that. Just because the way he pulls in the straps, I thought it was going to be a big problem.
Same. I mean, we spoke about it on here a few weeks ago, and
yeah,
exactly the same. Alpha Kangle, thanks for your super chat, mates. But will we see Sasho at Arm Wars again? I have no idea. I'm sure we will if he wants to come back and pull there. I haven't spoken to Sasho this year. I know that he's focused on the WF Worlds, his next outing, but I'm sure Sasho will be back in at some point down the tracks. At the moment is the title holder in the light heavyweight division, so it makes sense that he would do. Jared with a $4.99 super chat. Thanks, mates. But hey, guys, keep up the good work. What's your opinion on Jerry versus Hermes? Hermes is strong for sure, but Jerry eats up top rollers all the time. RBJ, do you want to take that?
Yeah, I think Jerry's just going to beat him flat out. Like I said, unless you train with Jerry, you're not going to know what to do with him. And people with strong brachialysis don't realize that even a very, very strong brachialis has so far not proven very effective against the pressure Jerry puts on when he catches you on it, especially when you're strapped to him. I think guys that have been stronger than Hermes have lost to Hermes in the exact same way he's going to lose to Hermes, and that Hermes is going to pull him.
I think there's definitely he's got to finish fast, hasn't he? If Hermes is going to win that, you'd think he's got to finish that quick. He does have the option on the press. We've seen it before where he blasts outside and then jumps on top of it. I'm not sure how effective that would be with Jerry going in the opposite direction in the brokeback press. But, yeah, it's a brave man that dives on Jerry in that position. And the other
you
thing
get
that
your shit broken. Yeah,
Jerry can go all day.
I don't know how Hermes leapfrogged over Kadecha. Like, the poor guys, like, he beat Hermes, what was it, like 6-0? And all of a sudden, everyone's talking about Hermes is the next one in line for a shot. A little weird to me.
Fickle. People are fickle. Whoever you get your name out there, that's all you need to do. And it'll get you the shot. But I suppose there's a little bit of that in all sports, isn't there?
Hey, RVJ, you know me and you are pulling, you know. I saw a Facebook post. It's like next logical matchup is me and RVJ.
Is that
probably you're doing good. You're on the rise, and I've been on the fall apparently for 10 years now minimum. So I mean, somewhere. I mean, I just hope that you don't make me look too bad. Don't top roll me like you did to that other bum you pulled.
Oh, we could go on.
When you sat in there in the middle of the table, beating him was one thing, but top rolling him in that manner, oh, I gotta tell you what, I got a boner of all boners.
I stopped, and in my head I was like, I'm gonna say some shit, but I didn't.
I was surprised you didn't, to be honest, because I thought on the lead up when I watched the presser, I thought, oh, these guys have been chatting and it's on.
Yeah, I felt I was like, I'm already destroying you.
Yeah, your performance, no shit you could have talked could have raped his soul as much as that performance did. You didn't have to say anything. It's like punching someone out. You don't really need to stand over them and talk. They already got the backlash of all of it.
My God, mate. The T-shirt's even in print. I mean, these guys had been on it on here. I mean, it's just a terrible situation.
Well, you got to understand, he just jumped in as like the next guy in line after he got his focus off of me.
But
I will make note though. I will make note though that for years I got tormented, and I said the match is wide open if he wants to come here, and he promised me to come to the States once the restrictions have been lifted, and the restrictions have been lifted a long time, and I never heard about any itinerary coming this way.
Mate,
and I think Ray fucked me now. I don't think he'll come over now.
I'm sorry, Rob. I'm really sorry.
Definitely going to happen at some point. So
I-
N will 80 kg.
Saving world comes with consequences.
With great
That's true.
power.
Collateral damage. I'm just collateral damage.
So N will 80 kg with a super chat. Thanks, mates. But to have a good testing system like water costs money, and the sports leagues are willing to pay for it. They really need to be willing to pay for it, and they really need to have the financial capability and clout to pay for it. And how much difference does it make? You've got to be a big organization, and you've got to be all over the damn thing to make it effective, particularly when you do have any kind of state-sponsored drug abuse, which is medically administered. Makes life very difficult. I can't remember whose show it was on, but Micah Yellow was on a show maybe a year ago, and he was talking about going to the IFA Worlds in the US, and the fact that if he went there, he wouldn't have been at all concerned about passing a test. I remember that show and thinking, obviously Mike knows a great deal more about it than I do, but it was interesting.
Well, I think part of it too is when you know ahead of time you're going to pass the test. If you know the test is coming, that's when it's very beatable. But if you're there trying to be like, okay, I'm 3 months out from this big event, and you're peaking, and you're thinking you're going to get tested day of, but somebody hits you like 2 weeks deep into your training, a month right smack in the middle, and goes, hey, fucko, you've got to show up to the facility. You got 24 hours or you're ganked from this event. Yep. Then all of a sudden they're like, and if they go do a blood test, and I would pay out of pocket for that, what would your yearly dues be? Let's say you want to go win that $100,000 prize or that $250,000 prize, whatever, and you're going to pay $1,000 for a test. Price of admission, bro. That's the way it goes.
Make a great deal of sense.
But I think tests are very easy from guys I talk to beat when they know ahead of time, like, when am I testing? Because then they start taking different shit that only in the body for a short amount of time. And then they do their papers.
The guys that are really educated on it. I mean, you never know after the show went out with Ryan and just the reaction that we've seen from it. I'm sure, more plates, more dates and stuff like that. I've got probably something to discuss that. I'm sure they've done it in the past and can tell you exactly how easy or hard it is to catch people,
I think even Olympia, you're supposed to test clean day of the event.
No idea.
And those guys are radioactive. Right?
Yeah, they touch you and you're
yeah.
Yeah.
Your forehead grows if you rub off them. Yeah, if you bump into them in the hallway.
So Marcus Thompson coming with a super chat. Marcus, how you doing, brother? Hope you're well. I did a Marcus. I've just got back off holiday today. Literally drove up back off holiday this afternoon. Speaking of Rob on the phone when I was coming up. Marcus, thanks for that, mate. He's put number 118 in judo. We've been tested several times by UK sports at top events, and it's an Olympic sport. This will be a big problem, I feel, for arm wrestling to ever get there without P.E.D.s. For arm wrestling, it's a catch-22 at pro level. To be best and remain there carries big pressure. Yeah, it does. There's no doubt about that. And I would, one thing that I was going to say earlier on, in fact, let me just knock this over from Phantom, and then I've got another point that I wanted to draw up there. But Phantom, thanks for your super chat, mates. But why isn't arm wrestling in the Olympics? To be honest, that was more down to a number of things, money being the primary thing, and also too many weight classes and various other restrictions along those lines. But mostly money and popularity is a big thing. You can usually find a way if a sport is popular enough and there's enough money in it. That's pretty much the way it works. Ryan's exposed cable. Derek Smith said he was staying pancake free, which means he will never win versus the Eastern Mutants. Artem's bicep, Levan V1 to V4, Revash juiced, etc. Yeah, not spoken to Derek, actually. I don't know what his stance is in that respect. But the one thing that I was going to say is, does anybody know, or did Ryan put out? I haven't managed to catch up a lot of the stuff that's been online because of the fact that I've been down in the middle of the woods. Does anybody know what led to Ryan putting this thing out there? What was the catalyst for that?
I like
I can guess. Ray, you guess. I'll guess after you.
so he put up the video where he's like, you know, he's like pretty much like, how did I lose? What the hell happened? And he's like genuinely really doesn't understand. So he's like, I don't know. And he talks. And then I sent him a message. I think he talked with Herman Stevens as well about it. And I was like, man, like we made an agreement that he's gonna come clean. I'm coming in clean. So we're gonna arm wrestle, and that's it. And I was like, man, like maybe you don't feel it, but you're 25 kilos late, like sorry, 15 kilos lighter. You coming, your whole androgen system is different. Like this, even if it's like 8 months or something, I think it does impact you. Plus, you don't work out in a gym, so there's no stress on your whole body. Like it works differently. I absolutely guarantee it. And we talked. I said, like, I don't know, like, man, but like, clearly it impacted you. You look different. You look like different human being. You know, but this is why I said, and I'm like, everyone, just look at me.
Everybody, by the way, everybody that goes clean does the same thing. Like I said in the video, if you ever see Arson Lily of 10 years ago and Arson Lily of today, it looks like Arson Lilly's uncle, great uncle.
Yeah,
man.
You get deflated hard, like all those bodybuilders, you know, now that back in the day, you remember. And it's gonna hit everyone. That's the thing. Like you look at those numbers, your body cannot produce those numbers. It's pretty much impossible. And I think it messes you up. I don't know how much it messed Ryan up, but it looked like, because he said like on table he feels good, like he's smashing everyone except Lachlan. You know, coming in, he was like all that confidence that was there, because he said he was clean for like 8 months, and he said like smashing everyone, doesn't feel anyone. This is why he was literally like, I cannot lose.
That's dangerous though. That small town girl syndrome, you know, that's like being the best bobsledder in Jamaica. You know, like it's no disrespect to Australia, but they've yet to be really proven to the level that he thinks he's going to come in and go against a country with the resources you guys have, that all your guys are world proven. Smashing guys in your practice, I'm very careful about how I feel. People ask me how I feel, and if I'm beating everyone in my practice, I got to go look for someone like Jerry or Marcio or Dave Chafee to see like where, like how do I feel? Because you know that they're world level or world level exposure. You can't gauge yourself with people that even if you're doing everything wrong, it feels so right.
Yeah. Yeah, well, one of the points, a couple of guys messaged me before the match, and they said, "Look, do you really think that Ray can win the match?" And I said, "Yeah, absolutely. If the agreements that these guys have made are adhered to, the weight, the fact that Ryan's coming in, not taking anything, whilst he's a bigger framed guy, iron sharpens iron, and Ray is training with a field of killers. There's some and also a very, very diverse set of pullers." Yeah. Stylistically diverse.
I sent a message to Ryan. I said, I'm going to explain to you. Like, he's like, I came in so confident. So I have Giannis and Raimonds that are going to work on my top roll that I know are world-class top rollers. If I can stop them, okay, I know what's up. Then I have Kristaps, Sandris, and Vlad and Kaspars that's going to pull inside with me that I know are world level. Yeah. And there's some pressers that are, you know, just finished on podium in Europeans that also are the measuring tool. So I knew my whole game was to the ceiling, you know, coming in, and I know where to measure it. The problem, like geographical problem of Australia, they don't have a measuring stick. They just like, if I would pull, like I get back and guys in my gym, they're like, am I stronger than Ryan? How far am I? I'm like, I don't know. You all feel same to me. If you're not stronger, if you don't make me work, you all feel same to me. Yeah. It doesn't matter. You know,
but that was kind of the point that Ryan was going for the other way, wasn't it? That he'd be so much stronger that you wouldn't feel him. That was his aspiration in there.
Yeah.
You just didn't know how much he was way away.
Let's go back to that question about why he made the video. I think he's doing like he's reeling from that loss. And it's kind of like that when he lost to was it Lachlan, when he put the Get Up video out, that legendary video, Get Up, that, you know, is he down? Is he out? Is he trying to create a new lane of content with this transparency? I would like to say, while I have a viewing audience here, that y'all fucking roasted me pretty hard for wanting to get a drug tested match going with this guy. And you thought I was using a scapegoat because I was worried about him, but I really just wanted to pull the guy clean so I could expose his BS. And everyone denied it. He denied it. Everyone said it. And then now he comes clean. So y'all got to eat a little bit of shit there because, you know, the crime's the crime. I just called a spade. And I caught a lot of rashing over that testing clean match. And then now he goes and pulls a tested clean match and we see what he was compared to when he wasn't. Just saying. Just saying. I just think he's reeling from, he doesn't know what to do when he's not being that guy. That content is really like, he doesn't know what lane to take in the community when he's not the guy that's going to climb. Because before he beat anybody, he was already talking about smacking me, then John, then Devin, then maybe Levon. That was his trajectory. But he didn't do anything before that. So now he's like, fuck, I just got beat really bad. What now? Let's talk about it. And everyone's like,
that underlines, isn't there? And some of the things that that it does underline is there is a strength potential within individuals as well, whether they're juicing or not. So a guy who's got massive potential, who is then enhanced, will go clearly a lot further than someone who'd never had that much potential and is juicing. And that is a very, very true fact. It's been put, you know, a lot of people have talked about that, and it's absolutely true. If you're a guy that's got massive potential, massive ability, and you also enhance, yeah, you're going to go way further. Now, you've also got...
Remember a year ago when he made the post, like, and we talked about this with Ryan, and a lot of people get like upset because we're like, no, we're just stating what we see in the facts. And even in the video, he said like in this, I wanted to get big and same road as Hermes, as Prudnik. I'm like, Hermes and Prudnik were killing people at 16 years old, and so many world titles, so many big wins, big name wins. Every tournament they go, they kill it, you know. Like if you and I said to Ryan, and know that like if you were that good, we would know. And even a presser, I said like, man, you're not that talented. There's difference. You come in with the good talent, you need those abilities, and then your ceiling is way higher than most people will ever dream of.
Yeah, I do remember that conversation when they were talking about getting to the absolute peak of the sport. And like you say, you can already, the guys that are going to the peak of the sport, you can already see that they've got a very solid, very established foundation. And if that isn't there, it's just not going to happen.
But another thing that we don't talk about with the juice too is how much it can really extend your career. Because I remember when Prudnik was much, much smaller and he got a pretty bad injury and he faded off for a while in his class. And he even came back and took a couple L's in like, I don't know, like 176 or 187 or something. It wasn't 200 pounds, but he took a couple L's. And then all of a sudden, over 240, and he's a major contender in top 8. Had he had to fight through those injuries and trials and tribulations clean, would he be that person we're talking about at this level?
Now, you can kind of also get this where you can say, okay, and I'm trying to put some counterpoints in there and considerations and talking points, but here's another one for you. You can, if you're never, your aspiration is never to arm wrestle, you're not going to compete, you just want to watch the sport, okay? And you want to see freaks, you want to see guys that are extraordinarily strong. For the guys in the chat, do you give more respect to people who are prepared to take those risks to go to that strange place to see how strong they get? Or do you see, mate, I've got these messages, I'm telling you, people, these messages, I can show them you.
You got to be a general. You can't be amongst the grunts. Of course, they want to see the big people because they're not the ones putting themselves at risk.
Do you also give more respect to the guy that goes into back clean? Who gets most respect in the eyes of the people that are watching the sport?
The winner.
The winner gets the respect.
Just the winner.
You know why people go to car races? The majority of them to see the crash. They don't really want to see good car racing. They want to see the fucking crash. Everybody wants to see somebody do something that there's no risk to them involved. Like I always said on my YouTube videos, this whole community that's out here saying, yes, we want to see the freaks, we want to see the steroids. They're not the ones in the fray. They're not the ones suffering wins, losses, injuries, getting results taken from them. They're the kids outside of a high school going, fight, 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 fight. Well, there's two kids that are probably petrified. They're being pushed into a corner when they themselves, if they were in that situation, would be shitting their pants. But when they're on the outskirts as the mob, they're going, fight, 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 thumbs down in the arena. You know what I'm saying? Kill them. But when you're in the seats of the arena, it's easy to make that decision and be the spectator. But when you're the person in the arena, all of a sudden you have a very different view of thumbs up and thumbs down, right?
Yeah. And for the guys that would say, okay, well, we don't care if a guy's juicing or not, as long as they tell everybody about it, which that's another angle that I've had a lot of messages on today. What's the thought on that? Are you guys gutted that that may prevent people that are natural superstars coming into the sport because they feel like it's defeatist to get in the mix with those guys? I mean, how do people view that?
I'll field that one real quick because I was talking to the wife about it. And I think that admitting to a crime just cuts the witch hunt out of it. Admitting to doing something wrong, it like takes out of it. It's like going home to your wife and instead of her having to be suspicious, where were you? You know, I can see lipstick on your collar. If you just say, yeah, I banged the secretary. At the end of the day, your coming clean doesn't change the fact that now you have a problem based on you being a cheat. Now, how you guys handle that, whether your marriage dissolves and you move on, or if you go admit to a murder, admitting to it doesn't make it less of a crime than if they had to really test your fingerprints and interrogate you. You still committed murder. So at the end of the day, coming clean doesn't change your level of advantage in cheating. It just means that you're now open about it. It doesn't change your advantage at all. So the real crime is the fact that you're using, you got a huge advantage. You telling me about it doesn't change that. It doesn't make you, you might be like more transparent, but it doesn't change the result.
Very interesting point. Ray, have you got anything to add to that, mate? What's your feelings on that? Do you think which is the lesser evil? If the freak factor gets more viewers to the sport, which isn't anywhere at the moment, but by the same factor, those freaks keep natural talent from the sport, which is the lesser evil?
That's a good question. I think I would sell my soul if arm wrestling could get bigger. I have said it a few times, and I think it's
a timing thing.
It's very tiny. It's
a timing thing.
Oh, timing. No, but I think if we can get more viewers with those freaks or with whatever, eventually the sport will grow so big that it can create those lanes and opportunities. Like it was good that we had like Slotty, WAF, WL, Arm Wars, and there's different champions in each league. Even though we know this guy could destroy all those classes, it's still good when we kept those things a little bit separate because that was bringing more interest from different sides. Problem is we're kind of centered right now, so nothing can go from outside or inside. If we can, again, expand on everything we're doing, then we can create more and bring in more opportunities. Eventually, someone's going to say, well, I would like to create like natural league or test my athletes here. And boom, it's going to go off. It's just time, money, and talent.
I think it builds off of what you said earlier, though, that where there is no measuring stick of power output, the freak could really be the person who's more athletic. How about a guy like, hey, fuck it. How about a guy like Larry Wheels who could go in and slay round one and then he couldn't even put his arm on the table for the next 5 rounds? I'm sorry, but to the outside public who sees a guy that's that big and that strong and he can't even catch his breath, they're like, that's not an athlete. That's not a person who's like got all their ducks in a row. When people move awkwardly or they don't have any durability, they're always injured. There's always some shit going on. The freak is the person who's going to check all those boxes. They're going to be strong. They're going to be able to adapt. They're going to have durability. They're going to have endurance. You're not going to be the guy who comes in with big muscles and output and you arm wrestle for 30 seconds and you're sweating bullets everywhere and you basically need a respirator. That's not a freak to me. You've maxed out for max output, but you forgot about the other boxes. And I think when people see somebody like that puts all that together and they're like, they can see the hard work and it takes a brain, it takes athleticism, that will be the watchable person. And especially if you take a few of those people that can articulate a goddamn sentence or put a thought together, that will resonate.
Now, another point that, in fact, I'll just knock over a couple of super chats and then I'll go to the next point that had come in. So, Mythagoras, thanks for your super chat, mate. He's put, Engin has to make Morozov versus Salayev happen. Mate, don't worry, because the way that my mate Engin is going on, it'll probably happen sooner than you think. The man is putting on a lot of matches and a lot of big matches. So if there's any way for that to happen, if the Russians can travel as soon as they are able to travel, and it is viable for them to travel to Turkey to compete, which is the biggest issue at the moment, that's not possible. As soon as that is, I'm pretty sure he'll be looking to put on that match and many others like it. Don't worry about that. Engin's obsessed. John Agustin, thanks for your super chat, mate. But I don't agree with P.E.D. usage due to health concerns and legal reasons. That being said, if it helps make you a better athlete and everyone competing is using, make it fair, then more power to you. Well, the problem with that, though, John, is that it would make everybody use P.E.D.s in order to be competitive.
Right, and then it comes down to, if everybody knows that this is the line you got to be at to be competitive, then you're going to get a crop that goes, well, this is the baseline. Now we're going to go like this.
Yeah.
And then we all keep rising it to the point where it's now not, it's way beyond casual. It becomes who can withstand the most damage.
Now, in the sport, that leads me beautifully on to the next one. One of the questions that we got on, do we believe that the sport is already at that level if you look across the expanse of the sport, or is it just the elite level that's there? And I think that's important to be covered. So in other words, just the sport that we're seeing right in front of your face week in, week out, or is this something that's endemic within the sport throughout?
Well, I think it's throughout, because unlike, even 10, 15 years ago, people can really get themselves a good YouTube channel, a YouTube following, and they can really get a lot of notice and even be brought out to some of these high elite events because of their presence, because of things they do. So they got a lot of, you can really fast track yourself to being amongst the elite names until proven otherwise by doing that. There are guys here in the States that have gotten very fast tracked, very fast to these elite events by putting out content out there, by beating names and making those gains very fast. So I think there's a big driver even amongst the lower ranked guys where they think like, oh man, if I could just win these local events, then start dominating a little bit my area and I put enough content out there, I see it. I see guys changing rapidly, and you wouldn't know their name over there in the UK. Coach Ray sure as shit wouldn't. He's a student in the game, but I see the change even on the local streams big time because the social media is a big driver.
Yeah, and then obviously if they get that success and they get a little bit of recognition, they're hungry for it. And it's hard to switch that off,
Right. Because then everybody, what you do is take one bad apple to spoil a bunch. Once one guy shows up in there and starts dominating, a few guys start scratching their head and say, do we tuck tail and hide? Or do we then jump on the ship and join in? And then next thing you know, to even take third place at a local event, you've got to be really, really fucking good, or you got to be willing to go the route they went.
Yeah. Henry Bowerslaw's just come in with a super chat here, Rob, you'll like. He's put, can we make Rob Vigent Jr. a permanent member of the Fix crew? Henry, let me tell you, Rob knows he's always welcome on my show. Anytime. Absolutely. And he really does. Anytime Rob Vigent Jr. on any show is always welcome. Fact. Dude can come on.
Appreciate that.
Now, there's a couple of other things that I don't want this to drag on too long, and I'm conscious of the fact that we've been on for over an hour now, and I know it's middle of the goddamn night where Ray's at. I'm also conscious of the fact that the couple of guys that were going to come on the show that I know do use weren't available this evening, just genuinely because I changed the time of the show with being away. And I do think it's important to have that counterpoint on as well, to discuss some of this stuff and get those points raised. So I may revisit this if people want us to. As I say, the reason why we put this topic on there, guys, tonight is because I got so many messages from people, and thanks to you guys that did send them in, got so many messages from people saying that they wanted us to cover this off. Most of them said when Ryan is on the show, i.e. what was Ryan's motivation for doing it. They wanted to know why he came out with that. And we will address that with Ryan when he's on the show. As I say, Ryan, for those of you who've sent messages in just now saying he's ducking, he actually isn't ducking the show, I don't believe, throughout the week. when you've tried to call him, his internet really is poor. I've had a similar situation where I've been this week. I'm sure that Ryan will be on shortly, and we'll get his take on that and why he raised the topic, what was the real motivation behind it, and so on and so on. And Ryan can take
it. The motivator's easy for everybody. Somebody comes to you and says, you're stuck at a plateau, or you're hurting, or you can go no further. You can get 30% stronger in just a couple months. And sometimes if you think about 30% stronger, the difference of 30% in other sports, if you did running, jumping, anything with times or weights, is sometimes the difference between a high school kid and a guy with a gold medal. 30% is massive. I knew a guy who couldn't bench press 300 pounds on his best day. That was his life goal. And he did all the techniques. He watched all the videos. He did all the pyramids. He did everything. And he could just barely creep at 300, maybe. He got on a cycle. He got pushed to it. He did it. By the end of the cycle, he was repping 350 in 3 months. His lifelong goal, he could never get there with years of training, an experienced lifter. He just peaked out his natural cap. In 3 months of doing whatever he did when he was at his peak cycle, he was banging 350 for reps as a workout set. That strength level that's unattainable is retarded.
Yeah, I need all the gear, everything.
Yeah, exactly. Dude, I sit up at night and I do the same thing. Listen, I have the same desires as all these guys who do it. I just haven't done it. I think, like, I know where I've been and where I've been at times in my career and what I faced with injuries, not being able to train and whatnot. And I think if I got on something like a guy who started off naturally smaller than me, like ARMWRESTLING or some of these other guys, and I see where they are now, what could I do? I ask myself that all the time. But it's not there. It's not there for me. But that's the motivator. People who look, at some point in time just go, fuck it. And then once they're in it, once they're on that train's moving.
So here's an interesting one. The last sort of one we'll take on directly, just as food for thought tonight. Countervent 44. And he put, Neil, please do the show addressing with Ryan why he used P.E.D.s and why he came clean about what he's taken. What a lot of people have a downer on P.E.D. use. Oh, yeah, have a downer on P.E.D. use. What people needs to consider is that there are some real benefits for arm wrestling, in my opinion. Think about it. We would lose major names, and he goes on to name 4 aging legendary American arm wrestlers who allegedly, he believes, take steroids. They would be out of the sport by now by their own admission. Yet them using steroids, as Ryan alluded to in his video, has allowed the sport to continue enjoying these legendary arm wrestlers competing and in some cases doing the impossible.
But what if it cheapened? What if by them staying past their time, kind of like an old growth tree that should have fallen a long time ago is stifling out the sunshine of the shorter trees? What if by doing that, there could be a bunch of other huge names that rose, but they're snuffing it out? There's always going to be people come and go. There was Wilt Chamberlain, and then came Magic Johnson, then came Michael Jordan. You're going to have them. Legends rise and they fall, and you remember them for what they are. But to sit there and say that it keeps them around longer doesn't change the fact that they're there because of the steroids, and they could be taking time off of somebody else.
Another good point. The key point there. I hope that answers your question, mate. John Agustin back in. But I agree with you guys. I just don't think P.E.D.s in athletics are going anywhere. I believe it is endemic. I guess the only real solution would be to have stricter testing or have testing and untested leagues. Yeah, that may be a real avenue where you have tested league and untested league. Aussie arm wrestler Jake Ward. I don't know whether Jake's going live tonight or whether he did last night. Jake, let us know in the chat, mate. Because if you're not subbed to Jake, get over there and check this guy out. RVJ, Rob viciously juicing. A couple of laughy faces, so don't leather him. But RVJ spitting the truth. P.E.D.s is why we aren't in the Olympics. Love you all. Rob is a beast. Raise cat juices. Ready bang. Yeah. So look, guys, I mean, we've had some serious points tonight. We've had some piss take points, but I think it's fair to say that we will probably revisit this when we get a couple of the guys that, if they still want to come on, that do use and are open about their use, to just answer some of these points, because I do feel like it's a little bit one-sided, and a couple of people are messaging me here saying it's fine that yourself, Ray, and Rob are on the call when everybody knows you guys are anti-juice. Why haven't you got some guys on there like Mikey Yellow and Ryan, who may be on the other side of that fence?
Well, you know,
The
in
interesting
due
thing is
respect,
then, why did Ryan stop?
there's due respect there with what their opinion's going to be, and you'll hear things as far as even medical and stuff like that. But if we're talking about a competitive environment, as soon as you're doing something outside of your onesies and hard work and all that stuff, it is an accessory. It's cheating. And in arm wrestling, when you encompass all the things like speed, healing, strength is a big one. Even your structure, it's performance enhancing on every box that needs to be checked. Even people take things that make them more enduring and more aware. It ups their blood counts and more aware. It depends on what you do. But to sit there and sell it to me of like why you do it, I know why you do it. So you could be bigger, better, faster, stronger than you could ever do naturally. And that's the only reason. There's no other reason. If you don't want to be a better version of yourself, then why not just do exactly what you're doing? Mm-hmm. So you could sell it to me. It doesn't mean I'm going to buy it. You could put it in a pretty package. That's cool. You can drop the price down. I still know what it is. It's a pet rock, and I don't want one. It doesn't do shit for me.
I love Rob. I'll tell you what, Rob, don't ever change, mate. Oh, I absolutely love him.
That was so epic.
Absolute quality, Rob. You little mate, you're some hombre. Rob Vigent Jr., what an hombre. Guys, we've been on here for about an hour and 15 minutes. I'm going to leave it there. And if you guys are happy to do it and we can get a couple of counterpoints on at the same time, we'll definitely revisit this. As I say, guys, sorry about the change for everybody that's tuned in tonight to check out the show. Genuinely sorry about the change of day. I really didn't have an option. Couldn't get, I was trying to get it away down there, but the internet just was appalling. We wouldn't have been able to do a show for you guys that was sustainable. So hopefully it didn't upset too many people that we changed on this one occasion to Monday rather than Sunday. We will be back with the fix next Sunday night. I want to say a massive thanks to my guests tonight. Well, both these guys are more members of the crew than anything else, to be perfectly honest. RVJ, great to have you back on the show, mate.
Thank you.
Interesting insight, and it was fabulous tonight. Rolly Ray, guys, you're going to be seeing a great deal more of. He's got a match coming up in Arm Wars. I just wanted to focus on that for a minute before we do jump off. Oh, and I've just got a super chat come through as well from Fat Legless Bird. Don't send any more super chats, guys. Thanks for that, mate, but I'll read it in one moment, but don't send any more because we are going to jump off here. Yeah, just wanted to say Ray's got a match coming up with Tom Holland in about 2 weeks' time in Iron House 2. Tickets for that, there's still a few remaining. They will go on general sale from tomorrow. The way that you'll be able to get hold of those is to email the details, your details to the channel. When I put that out tomorrow on the community page, you'll then respond to the email on the channel, which is supernaturalstrength at gmail.com. I'll put it all on the channel tomorrow, so don't worry about remembering anything. It'll all be on the community tab tomorrow on the YouTube channel with instructions on how you get hold of tickets. Okay, we'll put a list together of people. It's a very, very small number who'll be allowed to the event. I think with less than 140 tickets remaining. So yeah, if you want to jump on that event, guys, and you want to see the matches at Iron House 2, they are on Sunday, the 4th of September. Most importantly, remember, we're going to be putting out the matches live, possibly on Saturday and Sunday from that event for channel members, certainly from the Sunday. And there's going to be a lot going on for channel members that week as well. So the minimum membership on the channel, I think, is £6. So get over there, get joined up if you want to see that. Remember, we've got shows going out on Arm Wars. Also, get over and get subbed to Voice of Arm Wrestling. Get over and get subbed to RVJ's Arm Wrestling channel. You've been pretty active recently, Rob, or are you taking some downtime?
I got about 2 weeks left of my busy season, but I've been putting little things out there just to kind of get it like restarted back in the feed. And then once I hit fall, winter, and the kids are in school, I'll be able to get into training. I'll be able to get to traveling. And once I get past Labor Day, that's why I wanted to go to Arm Wars so bad.
Iron House 3, dude.
Yes, when?
Probably going to be like February.
Okay, so we'll talk about that because I really want to go back on YouTube. I'm starting to wet the whistle a little bit.
That's what we like to hear. But again, guys, Rolly Ray, Tom Holland coming up, left and right arm. Let me tell you, we have got a set of middleweight killers coming to Iron House 2. Absolute killers. It's going to be a tremendous set of matches there. It really is. Our battleground in the light middleweight division is just going to be immoral. So get yourself tuned in for that. As I say, community tab tomorrow. I'll put out information about the remaining tickets for anybody who wants those. Anybody around the world, if you can't get to the show live, it's near Preston. Information will go to people when they purchase the ticket. We'll tell you where it is, but effectively it is near Preston, Lancashire, on Sunday, the 4th of September. That's Sunday, 4th of September, Preston, Lancashire. 10 minutes from there is the venue. It is not the Crofters Hotel. It's a different venue, and we'll be sending you information about that. We are going to keep it secret because we don't want people showing up there who aren't on the list. Very, very minimal amount of people will be admitted to that. A lot of matches lined up for that day, and if you're a member of the channel, you'll get to see them within an hour or so of them taking place. And that's about the size of it, guys. We'll be back with the fix next Sunday. I want to say a massive thank you to everybody who tuned in and checked out the show tonight. As I say, sorry for the day change. Pretty essential. We'll be back with you soon. Biggity bong, mother fluffers.
Take it easy.